Hello, PS 101 community. I hope you are doing well and staying safe. As you know, our mayor announced in the summer that families would have the option between a blended approach and a fully remote approach. Once again, families have the option to choose a blended approach or fully remote approach. I just want to share the difference between the two and how we're handling them as a school. You know that from November 2nd to November 15th, families can opt in to the blended approach. So if you are fully remote and thinking of coming into the blended remote approach, I want you to understand the differences. And if you are in a blended approach and you choose to go fully remote, you can do that at any time, though we do ask as a courtesy that you consider doing that during this period as well, because it all affects the programming of the school. In a blended approach, children have an in-person teacher, and then on the days that they are home, to the extent possible, schools can provide synchronous or live instruction and asynchronous instruction. Asynchronous instruction is instruction that is posted in Google Classrooms that students do independently. But every third day as they come back to school, the teacher checks in with them on that work. And so as we began the school year, we did not have the capacity to have blended remote and in-person teachers for the blended approach. We did request additional teachers from the New York City Department of Education, and at that time, we did not have them. So using the staff that we currently do have, we assigned some of our staff members to be fully remote. We started on September 21st with 1 fully remote class on each grade and 3 in person for the blended remote approach. As more families opted into the fully remote approach, it freed up the schedule of our instructional lunch teachers. So we had at that time for the first week of school scheduled what was formerly known as our clusters as instructional lunch teachers, because we were supposed to provide instruction with a teacher during that time. The guidance then changed and families went fully remote. And as a result of both of those, we were able to go down on most grades, not all, to 2 classes in person and 2 classes fully remote. It did require us to reassign some teachers to fully remote for the grades where we were able to accommodate having 2 teachers. And it did require us to reassign some of those teachers to meet the needs of our students who have IEP services. In addition, we were able to take the instructional lunch teachers and reassign them as our blended remote teachers. And so we took what was formerly known as our clusters, and really only 4 of our clusters, not all of them, and we reassigned them to be blended remote teachers, providing synchronous live instruction for the days where students were home. As a school, we decided for the blended remote approach to departmentalize. We believe that the departmentalization was the best sound educational decision at the time. We do know that none of this is ideal. None of these decisions are the best scenario, but we are trying to do the best in these circumstances. And so departmentalization meant that the teacher that is trained with professional development and expertise in a subject area would be teaching that subject to all students. So we are required to teach ELA, math, science, and social studies. As a school, we have made a commitment also to our social emotional approach. And so we made sure that the teachers that were trained in ELA from Columbia University were the ones that were providing the ELA instruction. We made sure that the teacher that was trained in Elevate Science, who for the last 2 years trained all of our other teachers, was the teacher providing the science instruction in the blended approach. We made sure that the teacher who also trains all of our teachers in social studies, was the social studies blended remote teacher in the blended approach. And we provided 2 electives. Our science, social studies, media arts, and art are blended remote teachers on the days when students are home. The truth is, we really wish that we had more room in their schedule so that they can service every class. The fully remote teachers have their students every single day. And on those days throughout the week, they are teaching all of the content. They're teaching ELA. They are providing instruction for math. They're providing instruction for science and for social studies, and they are providing the social emotional lessons. And so if you're planning on changing your preference, right now that's the structure that we do have. Again, the blended remote, the days that students are home when they've opted into the blended approach, those days for synchronous instruction, it's to the extent possible that the school can provide it. This was how we were able to provide it as a school. At the beginning of the school year on September 21st, we couldn't do it because we had 3 in-person classes on a grade, we had 1 fully remote class on a grade, and we were not able to hire at that time. Since then, we've gone down to 2 in-person classes on a grade, which freed up the instructional lunch schedules. That means the schedule where teachers were providing instructional lunch. We were using formally our clusters to do that. In addition, there are times the guidance changed, and there are times that a paraprofessional or a school aide, as long as the teacher leaves instruction for them to do at that time, they could provide the instructional lunch as well. And so with the change of guidance and the change of the amount of classes, we were able to reschedule the school to work that way. So that blended approach students had an in-person teacher and blended remote teachers on the days that they're home, and we departmentalized. For the fully remote teachers, they are able to provide all 5 subject areas with all of their kids throughout the week. They see their kids every single day. And so as we come to this time of your sharing of your preference, whether you want blended approach or fully remote approach, there are some things to consider. Depending on the number of families that opt in to blended approach. We currently have 2 in-person classes. If that changes and we have to move up to 3 in-person classes, it could change what we do for the blended days and the blended, it's synchronous learning that happens. We will always provide asynchronous work. We also, on those days that students are home, we're able to secure the videos that were created, the pre-recorded whole class lessons from staff developers at Columbia University for reading, writing, and for the lower grades phonics. And those videos are posted in your Google Classrooms, in addition to sometimes teachers creating their own videos. For the fully remote students, those teachers will continue to provide instruction for all 5 subject areas. And so depending on the numbers, we may need to reprogram again. Some people have asked, why don't we have an A-B schedule? The truth is that our building is a very old building, and as a result, our physical space in classrooms is small. And we can only have up to 12 individuals in a class on any given day. And so in order to have an A-B schedule, the numbers for the in-person blended approach would have to decrease so that we are able to have 12 individuals. That includes the teachers and the paras in any room so that we can safely social distance. Once again, you have until from November 2nd today to November 15th to decide your preference. Please be mindful that once that decision is made, the school has from November 15th to November 30th to work on the programming, to announce that programming to families, and then we're not sure which day yet. It depends on how much programming we have to do. From November 30th to December 7th, we will announce when that new programming begins, when the students can return to school who are coming in for the blended approach, and when students should start their fully remote, should you choose that option. We want you to know that this is the model we currently have. We may keep it, we may change it, depending on the numbers of students who decide to come for a blended approach, which is in-person and blended remote, or fully remote with one teacher. Have a wonderful week, and I hope you make the best decision for you and your family.